Welcome everybody to the She Knows Pro Football Podcast. I have my guest Dominick here from fantasyhotread.com. And Dominick and I are going to go over the week one games and make our predictions. This is week one, obviously, so we're going to just give you who we think are going to win these matchups. Everybody's starting with no wins right now, so we have no records to give you guys. So let's just start off with Thursday's matchup. This is Green Bay versus Chicago in Chicago. Dominick, who do you think is going to win this matchup?
I think actually Green Bay is going to pull this one out. I just think this is going to be a year of Aaron Rodgers. I think the defense for the Bears, although they're good, they're going to take a step back. Nobody repeats as the best defense. And I think they just may come out a little slow. As much as I do love David Montgomery, and I think he might actually win the rushing title this year, I'm going to have to take Green Bay in this game.
I feel like I'm going to end up having to take Green Bay as well. I really have confidence in Aaron Rodgers and what he's doing. I really love the Bears. I really think that they're going to progress this year. But again, like you said, can that defense repeat what they did last year? And how much has that offense grown with them getting rid of Jordan Howard? Is Tariq Cohen really ready to take over and be the actual RB1 this year? That's a wait and see how that pans out for them. So yeah, I definitely have to take the Packers in that game. Let's go to Sunday. The first matchup is the Tennessee Titans versus the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Dominick, who you think is going to win this matchup?
I think it's going to be closer than people think because the Titans, as much as bad as they are, and everybody loves Cleveland, I just think it's going to take a little bit for Cleveland to figure it out, but I do think they will figure out a way to win this game against the bad Titans offense, so I think it's going to be Cleveland.
I love Marcus Mariota, but my favorite player, of course, for the Titans is Derrick Henry. Everyone knows that I'm a huge Derrick Henry fan, even though I didn't draft him. But I did draft Baker Mayfield. I think the addition of OBJ over there on the other side of Jarvis Landry is going to be a phenomenal for them. And they're going to start out with Nick Chubb with Kareem Hunt coming in around week 10 for them. So I think they should have a pretty good season. And with him being my QB1, I actually need Baker to do well. So I'm going to pick Cleveland in particular because they're at home this week. Our next matchup is Baltimore Ravens versus Miami Dolphins in Miami. Dominick, who you have for this game?
Again, this one's going to be closer than people think because when people go down to Miami, they tend to think of it as a vacation. That's why the Patriots always play bad down there, and a lot of other teams do as well. But I do think Baltimore is going to step up here, and they're going to win it by a couple of points.
The thing with Miami having their fire sale, I'm not real sure what Brian Flores is doing down there. I understood why they got rid of Kenny Stills, but Kenny Stills was really their wide receiver one, so I don't fully get why they did what they did. And Kiko Alonso has been phenomenal on that defense. I feel like there's a lot of question marks, and they're going to struggle a little bit this season based on just the enormous amount of moves that they made. So I'm definitely going to pick Baltimore in this game. I love Lamar Jackson, and I'm hoping he's going to do well and pick up where he left off at the end of last season. Our next matchup is the Falcons versus the Vikings in Minnesota. Dominick, who you got for me in this game?
This one might be the toughest to call because I think both these teams are very good. I think that Atlanta has the better quarterback, so I'm just going to have to go with the home field advantage here and say that although it's going to be very close and I can see Atlanta winning this one, I think it's going to be Minnesota figuring a way to pull it out at the end just because their defense is a little bit better.
Wow, this one's a tough one for me. I really love Atlanta. Julio Jones has been injured off and on last season. I'm hoping that he's fully healthy and they have Calvin Ridley there. I really feel like they're going to see a much better season than the one they saw last year. But I really love Minnesota. I was kind of disappointed in what we saw out of Kirk Cousins last year. I was hoping for a little bit more considering the receivers that he has there. But I think that this season they will have more of a 180, do a little bit better. I think that at the end of the season, they will be competing with the Packers for that NFC North division. So I think Minnesota is going to pull this one out at home. Next matchup we got is the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets. And this is in New York. So Dominic, who you got in this one?
Although I do like the Bills, I think that Le'Veon Bell is going to do what he can to prove that he's worth the money that he got, and I think Sam Darnold's going to have a breakout year this year, so I am going to go with the Jets in this division rivalry.
As much as I love Josh Allen and what he was able to do last year in the few games that they did win, and they've got a hell of a defense. I actually drafted their defense, as a matter of fact. I really was impressed by Sam Darnold last year, and I think the addition of Le'Veon Bell in that backfield is exactly what they needed. I love Robbie Anderson. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this. I think the New York Jets are going to be able to pull this one out at home. Our next matchup is the Washington Redskins versus the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. Dominic, who you got for me?
Well, I'm going to have to go with my hometown Philadelphia Eagles here. The Redskins are just terrible. We don't know who they're going to have at quarterback. I mean, they're going to play Case Keenum, but he doesn't really have much. See if, Jordan Reed can stay on the field, if Darius Geis is actually healthy. They really have no wide receivers, although I like Quinn as a late-round flyer for fantasy leagues, but it's nothing much going on early this year, so I'm definitely going to have to take the Eagles here. I think they can be one of the teams that might make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, and it's going to start with them whooping up on the Redskins.
I'm going to have to agree with you on this. Washington really, I think it's not going to be that good of a team this year at all. I do not trust Case Keenum, and I'm speaking from experience as having him as the Broncos quarterback last year. He turned into a major disappointment for us, so I can't imagine him playing much better. At some point, I can see them trying to go to the rookie, but we'll see when that comes. As far as Darius Geis, I think him being back healthy is good, but I'm glad that they held on to Adrian Peterson because I don't know how well he's going to hold up over the whole season. Their defense started out phenomenal last year and ended in the bottom, so I just not have any confidence in them whatsoever, whereas I love the Eagles and Carson Wentz. I feel like this will be a great season for them. I could see them actually winning the division. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give it to the Eagles in this one. Next matchup is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Carolina Panthers. Dominic, who you got in that one?
Well, I'm not a big Cam Newton fan at all. I've just never liked him as a player. And I know the Rams are coming across the country and they're going to be playing early, but it is the first game of the year, so that's not going to be as big a deal for them. And I just think their offense is too good. They're going to light up this Panthers defense, and it's going to be the Rams winning this one.
Ooh. Wow. I have Jared Goff, so it's hard for me to pick against my own quarterback, but Carolina at home has always been a tough team. I love Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry that I missed the opportunity to draft him. This is going to be a tough one for me because, again, I love Jared Goff and I love Todd Gurley. I'm hoping that knee will hold up throughout the season in hopes that it's not as bad as people seem to think it is. In this case, though, I want to pick Carolina at home. I think they got something to prove to start this season off. Our next matchup, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Dominic, who you got?
Oh, yeah, Jacksonville's going to light up the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this game. I mean, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Tyreek Hill back, they have a two-headed monster now in the backfield with Williams and Shady. So I just think they're going to dominate the Jaguars and their defense.
Jaguars defense, I've got a question mark with Telvin Smith deciding to take a year off from football. I know people didn't think he played that big of a role. He really had a strong veteran presence in that locker room, and I feel like part of that is being missed with him holding out this season and choosing to step away from football. I'm not sure. I love Nick Foles, but I don't know necessarily what he's going to do with that offense. Leonard Fournette has not proven to be able to hold up over an entire season. So I have a lot of question marks. I think their defense is great. I just don't know how well that offense is going to hold up. I'm not sure how Nick Foles is going to play over an entire season. With all those questions in mind, I really love what the Chiefs have done as far as, going out there and getting the running backs that they needed and, solidifying, when there was questions about Tyreek Hill drafting another receiver in there. Patrick Mahomes, I don't think he's going to play up to an MVP season, but I still expect him to do great things this season. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm going to have to pick the Chiefs. Next matchup is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This one's in LA this time. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was sad to see Andrew Luck have to retire and everything, but I mean, it was the best for him and his family. And anybody who thinks differently or was talking bad about him, they just they have no idea. If any of us got in there, we'd be crushed after one hit, and he's taking hit after hit after hit.
Exactly.
With that being said, I'm glad that they decided to sign Jacoby Brissett today for 2 more years for $30 million and show that they do have the confidence in him to make him the quarterback. And bringing Brian Hoyer in there to be his backup was good as well. So they do have 2 solid veterans in there. T.Y. Hilton's very good and everything. Saying all that, I'm going to take the road team and take the Los Angeles Chargers to win this game. I just think they're too powerful right now, and the Colts are still going to be trying to figure things out. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win in the soccer field.
I love that they play in that soccer field too. As I love the Colts, there's going to be a lot of question marks with them because of the retirement of Andrew Luck. What can Jacoby Brissett do over an entire season? We saw what he did 2 years ago when he did have to play the entire season. He played really well, but this is 2 more years later. I know they have full confidence in him. They did bring in Brian Hoyer, to be in his ear and Brian Hoyer's always been a great backup. Marlon Mack is one of the better running backs that they have back there. T.Y. Hilton is always solid every year, usually a 1,000-yard receiver every year. But let's see, Chargers, Phillip Rivers, as much as I don't like him, I respect him and I love his game. He's very brash and everything. I love their receivers, but the question mark with Melvin Gordon kind of bothers me. I really would like to see them get a deal done, but something tells me they aren't. And so with that question mark, for me, that really bothers me more than anything with them. I kind of want to see this. I kind of want to see this upset. I kind of expect everyone to pick the Chargers because they have that veteran presence with Phillip Rivers. But I really feel like the Colts might surprise everyone and Jacoby Brissett might be able to pull this one out. So I'm picking the Colts in this matchup. The next matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Seattle Seahawks. Dominic, who you got in this one?
This has to be the Seahawks. If I'm not mistaken, this might actually be the largest line of the week. I believe it's at 9.5, and that may not even be high enough. I mean, the Seahawks just got clowny, so that should help their defense quite a bit. I know they don't have any receivers, but they didn't really have any last year either, and they just ran the ball down people's throats.
Right.
They still have Russell Wilson there, who is still a top, we want to say 7 to 10 quarterback in the league, maybe even higher depending on who you are. And this Cincinnati offense is just going to be terrible without A.J. Green. They're starting a undrafted free agent in Willis as their wide receiver 1. I know they have Mixon there. He's a great player, but with all the offensive line debacle that they have there, I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything. He might even get injured. They have Andy Dalton there who, other than the flaming red hair, there's nothing else flaming about him, no arm or anything. So I just think Seattle's going to be able to ground and pound this one and win this one like 20-0 or, like 28-7 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a lot of big things out of the Bengals this season at all. I know people could try to, in the end, put everything on Marvin Lewis. That was not all Marvin Lewis because Marvin Lewis wasn't the one out there on the field, not making the receptions and not rushing the ball. So you can't put that all on him. And that defense was terrible. They didn't make a lot of great additions this offseason. A.J. Green being out is going to hurt them very badly. So, yeah, at least the first part of the season, I'm not expecting a lot out of them. I almost think that they're going to finish last in the division, which I know people aren't going to be, my friends that are in Cincinnati aren't going to appreciate, but that's really how I feel. And the Seahawks, meanwhile, made some hell of a great additions and dropped some weight, getting rid of Barkevious Mingo and getting Jadeveon Clowney in there was a great decision by them. I expect big things out of them this season. I think that they can do well in that NFC West division. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Seahawks in that particular game. Next matchup for our NFC East friends is the New York Giants with versus the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, whether this is Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Alf Morris, DeMarco Murray, or whoever, Dallas should win this game very easily. I know the Giants have Saquon Barkley, and as a Penn State fan, I love him, but they don't have anything else there right now.
Right.
I think they should. Cowboys. I know this is always a tough game, so I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. It's probably going to be low scoring, but this should be at least a relatively easy win for them. And if they win this game, next week they play Miami and they play Tampa Bay after that. So especially in fantasy, if you can grab this defense, if you like to stream defenses, this is a great defense to start off the year, and it's going to start now. I think they don't even give up more than. They may only score 20 points, but I don't think they're going to give up more than 14 points.
I have to totally agree with you on that one. The Giants, I don't know what the hell Dave Gettleman did this offseason. Getting rid of OBJ will always be a big question mark for me. I understand you feel like Sterling Shepard could be their wide receiver one, and that's fine. But other than that, what big addition did you make that is going to turn this team around? You're trusting all of this on the hands of Eli Manning, who is now 38. Instead of moving forward with Daniel Jones. I don't know how long that's going to hold up. I saw Eli play last year, and considering that they didn't make any phenomenal additions in this offseason to improve that team, I don't see them playing any better than they did last season. Cowboys, meanwhile, will they struggle a little bit in the later part of their season? The good thing for them is their early part of their schedule is pretty soft, and so they could be able to pull out a 3-1 or, even possibly 4-0 without Ezekiel Elliott there. And we'll see what happens and what that will mean for Zeke as far as contract negotiations go. If they start out winning, they may not, they may be able to hold all the cards at some point. That being said, they still have Dak there. They still have Amari there. That defense still looks good. They just signed Jalen to a long-term deal. Definitely picking the Cowboys, especially because they're playing at home. Next matchup we got is the Detroit Lions versus the Arizona Cardinals. This is where we get to see the kid finally play. Dominic, who you got in this one?
Let's just say, oy vey, this is like the ugliest game of the weekend. This is like could be two of the worst teams in the NFC. I love this for my boy Kerryon Johnson, though, because Arizona can't stop anybody with their defensive line in the running game. So if you have Kerryon Johnson, start him up right away. And I do think because of that, they're going to be able to keep the clock in their favor. They're going to stay on the field alive against that defense. And even the offensive line of Arizona is terrible, so they're going to have, with Trey Flowers there and everything, they're going to be running Kyler Murray all out of there. And with Darius Slay in the backfield, the defensive backfield, they're going to be able to cover some receivers. So with that being said, I think that Detroit goes into Arizona and avenges the loss from Arizona last year in week 1.
Again, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. We don't know what Kyler Murray is capable of. Are we going to have a repeat of last season with Josh Rosen there and Steve Wilkes, where we have this, first round draft pick quarterback and this rookie head coach that fizzled out and played extremely poorly? Will Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray at least be able to do better than them? I mean, hey, going 3-13 would be better. I don't expect a lot out of this team, even though I still tell people to draft David Johnson. I honestly do not feel like this team is going to be a contender, especially towards later parts of the season. Like you said, they don't really have an offensive line. They didn't make any really big defensive additions that would turn this entire organization around. Detroit, like you said, Kerryon Johnson, Matthew Stafford may not be one of your top 10 quarterbacks, but he's definitely, I'd say, in the top 20. And I feel like they are going to have more opportunities. You got Marvin Jones, now as the wide receiver for the definitive wide receiver one. I expect good things out of Detroit this season, so I'm definitely going to pick the Lions here. And definitely winning this one in Arizona. Our next matchup, San Francisco 49ers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Dominic, who you got?
I'm just going to make this one simple. I just don't think that San Francisco has the offensive firepower right now. I'm not a Jimmy G believer. I don't know if Dante Pettis is actually bad or if they are just trying to, make him better. But just right now, he's not there. So I'm going to have to take, as much as I'm not a big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, that offense is going to start humming with Arians there. So I'm going to have to take Tampa Bay to at least win their opener.
49ers with Jimmy G coming back from that injury of last season. I want to see what he can do. Typically, when you come back from an ACL, it's in your second season back that you tend to start getting back into the rhythm and playing at your full pre-injury speed. This is only his first year back. I'm not expecting a lot out of that team as much as I enjoy watching them. And I have friends that are 49ers fans who will hate me, but I cannot pick this team in this particular matchup. Again, I'm like you. I love Bruce Arians. I think that him being there, his strong presence there will help elevate Jameis Winston's game. I really feel like he's that kind of presence, that type of coach that can elevate the game of his quarterbacks. And I feel like that's what he's going to finally bring is a strong veteran presence and give him the kind of coaching and fatherly advice that he needs. And that should elevate his game and make him play at a higher level than he has played previously. Because I don't feel like Jameis has lived up to his full potential yet. And I feel like with Arians there, he is going to finally get that out of them. And as far as their running game, it's with them, I'm expecting it to be running back by committee. I would avoid. I honestly would avoid drafting any of their running backs. And I stayed far away from them. But I do expect better things out of them than I have in the last two seasons, in particular just because of the addition of Bruce Arians as head coach. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to pick Tampa in this one. Now, here's my favorite matchup of the week. Dominic, we got Pittsburgh Steelers against the New England Patriots in New England. Who you got in this one?
I actually think right now, at this point in the season, Pittsburgh might be better with James Conner, with Juju Smith-Schuster. I think at this point, Big Ben and Tom Brady are probably about equal. I mean, Tom Brady's obviously better all time, but I think at this point in their careers, they're about the same. So I do think Pittsburgh's the better team. But just we know how Bill Belichick prepares for the primetime games. I know they usually start off slow at the beginning of the year, but in primetime games, they never disappoint. So I'm going to have to take the Patriots here, although I'm tempted to take the Steelers.
I want to take the Steelers. Believe me, I want to take the Steelers. But is Juju ready to take over that wide receiver one position? I don't know. I don't know that he was fully ready when that fell into his lap. I'm not saying that he won't be. I just have question marks. I want to see where he is in 3-4 more games into the season. As far as the Patriots do not lose at home. I mean, you got to put on a hell of a game to beat them in Gillette Stadium. And I've seen them come back from 20-point deficits and win games in that Gillette Stadium. I expect big things out of them this season. Please, God, don't let them be in the Super Bowl again. That's my only request. But I do expect great things out of them this season. So, yeah, I'm with you on this one. I got to definitely. Oh, and I hope that we're going to get to see Josh Gordon back out there on this field this season. I got big and high hopes for him. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick New England at home in that game. Next matchup, we got Houston Texans versus New Orleans Saints. And that's where Kiko now went. Dominic, who you got in this one?
Well, the Saints are my team, so I don't want to pick against them. I know they always start out slow. The last 2 years, they lost to Tampa Bay in week 1 and cost me my Survivor Bowl pick. But I just think that with Houston making all these deals that Bill O'Brien made, and a lot of them they may have gotten some good players, but they were just terrible deals, like giving up 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick for a left tackle, and for for Stills, they were just terrible deals in my opinion.
Agree.
As good as the Saints offense is, to quote Charles Barkley, the Houston Texans defense is going to be just as terrible. So I think the Saints are going to light them up. I think that Deshaun Watson is great. Obviously, we know how great Hopkins is as well. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game, maybe like 40-28 or something like that. But I do think that the Saints are going to be able to pull it out in the end. with Drew Brees probably in his last year if they get to the Super Bowl.
I had high hopes for the Texans when they had Lamar Miller in the backfield. The loss of him, I feel like, is going to hurt them. They will go more to a running back by committee system, I feel. And I feel like that is going to be one of those things that's going to be detrimental to them. Where will Kenny Stills fit in that situation? I mean, we got Will Fuller and we got Nuke. We know he's not going to replace either one of them. Are they going to try and put him into the slot? I don't know what the addition of Kenny Stills is going to bring to that. We'll see what ends up happening. I love Deshaun Watson, but I got questions. I got too many questions and not enough answers when it comes to the Texans. New Orleans, meanwhile, love Drew Brees. He always is going to put up 4,000 or 5,000 yard season. They just locked up Michael Thomas to a long-term deal. He's one of the top receivers in the league. And they got Alvin Kamara in that backfield, who, of course, I drafted number 1 overall because VFL, first of all. And love that kid. I expect really big things out of New Orleans. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick the Saints in this matchup. Our last matchup, my team, of course, Denver Broncos versus the Oakland Raiders in Oakland. This is the last season in Oakland. Dominic, who you got?
Well, you're a Broncos fan, so you probably know this, but these two teams are going to be the two teams fighting for the bottom of that division. I don't like John Gruden. I don't. I think he's going to do a terrible job there, and he's already done a terrible job there. I do hope that Josh Jacobs succeeds there, just, based on his story, and I don't want him to fail just because of what's around him. I don't think Derek Carr is a great quarterback. He's maybe a top 25 quarterback. If Antonio Brown gets his head on right and, maybe a new helmet that actually prevents concussions will do that. Maybe that's why he's so nuts right now, because he's had too many concussions and he just didn't know it. But if he can get his head on right, he is still a top 5 receiver in this game. I think he could dominate this, Broncos defense. We've seen on Hard Knocks that when he's on the field, even with his circumcised feet, he just blows by everybody, and he just is that talented, and it's sad to say that. So I think, and for some reason on Monday night, they always play on Monday night opening week, the Raiders do, and they always end up coming through. So as much as I do think another case where I think the Broncos are the better team, but I think just at least for this week, the Raiders are going to win.
I know the Broncos are my team. I have zero faith in my team this season. We have Joe Flacco, who's 1,000 years old and ended up at the end of last season sitting behind Lamar Jackson over there in Baltimore before he was brought over here. And now in this situation, we have Drew Lock, who apparently is a very raw and definitely not ready to go. So I'm hoping that they don't try and switch to the kid this season. Maybe next season they can try and pull the trigger on that. I don't want them to do that this season and put him out there too soon. But I don't expect a lot out of Joe Flacco. I don't feel like Joe Flacco is not elite to me. I don't think he ever has been. I don't expect big things out of him this season. I don't expect big things out of the Broncos. The defense will keep them in games. The offense will not be able to put enough on the board to win them games, unfortunately. And I say that even though, like I said, I expect good things out of Emmanuel Sanders. I love Royce Freeman. I love Phillip Lindsay. But I just don't feel like Joe Flacco is the answer that they need. And I think that's going to end up costing them some games. Oakland, meanwhile, again, I'm with you. I don't think Derek Carr is one of the elite quarterbacks. He's a $100 million quarterback. But that seems to be the going rate now, even if you're only a meh quarterback. And that's what I consider him. But the addition of AB, if he can keep his head on straight and, not be a distraction, he could definitely bring something to that game. I want to see what they can do. But that being said, I don't expect a lot out of them. Like you said, I expect these two to fight it out for last place. But that being said, I definitely think that Oakland's gonna pull this one out at home. So Dominic, last question. Give me a survivor pool pick for week 1.
Actually, in a couple. One of them, hopefully, I win it because I'll win like $5,000 if I do.
Ooh.
In my one pool, I picked Philadelphia, and I think in that major pool, I think I'm going to take Seattle.
Okay. Well, for me, my survivor pool pick of the week is going to be, I'm going to go with the Saints. I know that's an easy, safe one because they're facing the Texans, but I love the Saints, and I'm expecting big. Alvin Kamara's my RB1, so I need a lot of points out of him. So I definitely am going to go with the Saints as my survivor pool pick for this week. Well, that's going to be it for us over here. Thank you, Dominic. You can check out more of Dominick's work at Dominic. Give him the website address again.
Yeah, you can find me at fantasyhotread.com and on Twitter at EnvisionFF. And it was great being here, and I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you, Dominic. And we'll see everybody back here next week.